Have you ever forgiven someone, only to be hurt by them again? They say forgiveness is noble, but nobility without wisdom becomes a weapon turned inward, in a world that rewards strategy over sentiment. What does it truly mean to let go? I have seen strong minds break, and entire lives unravel, not from attack, but from offering grace to those who deserved distance. This is not a call to vengeance, but to clarity. If you've ever questioned whether your forgiveness was strength or surrender, stay with me. What you'll hear next may change how you guard your power forever. 1. Forgiveness breeds betrayal. In a world where appearances veil intention and sweet words often mask the sharpest daggers, forgiveness is not always a sign of virtue. Sometimes it is a signal that tells others you can be wounded without consequence, that you will absorb betrayal with silence and call it growth. But what the Stoic and the strategist both understand is this: to forgive without wisdom is not strength, it is surrender. The wise do not confuse peace with permission, nor mercy with blindness. A man who remembers injury not with bitterness, but with clarity, becomes unshakable. For memory, when used as a ledger rather than a prison, transforms pain into strategy. Imagine a ruler who pardons betrayal in the name of harmony. He may win applause for his generosity, but what he does not see is the seed of doubt he plants in every mind that watches. They do not interpret his kindness as nobility, but as weakness. And in their silence, they begin to calculate. If he forgives this offense, will he forgive the next? If he does not act now, does he ever act at all? Forgiveness, offered without discernment, becomes an invitation not to healing, but to repetition. This is not to say one must rage or seek revenge. The Stoic never acts out of impulse. He does not allow emotion to cloud judgment, nor does he allow vengeance to become a burden. But he does remember, because remembrance is power. He learns, he observes, he calculates. He understands that every offense is not merely a wound, but information, a revelation of character, a warning for the future. He stores this wisdom not to strike back in haste, but to position himself in strength, should the same hand ever rise again. There is a strength in silence, in the nod that forgives with the mouth, but not with the mind, in the embrace that honors appearances while never forgetting what was done. A Stoic may say nothing. He may move forward with calm, but he never confuses letting go with letting in. He sets boundaries, not out of anger, but out of truth, because the one who betrayed you once will betray you again if nothing in you changed. So remember, the world respects clarity more than kindness. It fears those who do not forget. The man who forgives without thought loses his grip on command, but the one who remembers, not with rage, but with discipline, becomes untouchable, not because he is feared for his wrath, but because he cannot be deceived again. That is real control, not in reacting, not in punishing, but in seeing all things as they are, and never mistaking softness for virtue. Forgive only when it serves you, not to prove moral superiority, but to maintain internal clarity, to rise above, not to fold beneath. You are not here to appease the unworthy. You are here to build a life so strong that betrayal has no power over you. Remember not to hate, but to never be fooled again. That is Stoic wisdom. That is strategic restraint. That is true strength. 2. Retribution is precision. Retribution, when understood rightly, is not an act of rage, it is an act of symmetry. It is not born from uncontrolled emotion, but from alignment with truth. Forgiveness, when handed out blindly, is not liberation, it is abdication. The man who keeps account of what was done to him is not vindictive, he is awake, and wakefulness in a world of shadows is the first law of survival. in war, in leadership, and in the trials of everyday life. To be ready is not to be paranoid. It is to be sovereign. What kind of man walks back into the jaws that once bit him and calls it healing? Not the wise, not the Stoic, not the one who has understood the price of betrayal. The Stoic does not react out of fire. He studies the fire. He knows its source, its temperature, and how to carry it without being consumed. He watches those who wronged him, not with hatred, but with clarity, like a hunter observing patterns. He remembers the betrayal not to dwell, but to prepare. Like a master sculptor using broken marble to shape a weapon, he does not seek sympathy for his scars, he sharpens them into insight. Because remembrance is not heaviness, it is design. Every injury, every lie, every loss becomes a line in the map of his future. And those who inflicted them unknowingly helped draw the path of his rise. A ruler must be both fox and lion, the fox to perceive deceit, the lion to command respect. Forgiveness too often dulls the senses of both. When your enemies sense that there will be no consequence for crossing you, they no longer fear you, and when fear disappears, so does your influence. The Stoic does not need loud retaliation. His silence is thunder to those who understand its meaning. The truest form of revenge is not destruction, it is ascension. It is the quiet echo of your name reaching places your enemies were certain you would never see. That is what remembrance builds. Not drama, not bitterness, but return. Stronger, sharper, unshakable. Let your pain not be written in the sand where the tides of time can erase it. Let it be carved into stone, not to glorify suffering, but to extract wisdom from it. Those who harmed you may one day knock on your door seeking peace. But if peace comes without reflection, it is merely a pause before the cycle repeats. There must be reckoning, not for revenge, but for order, and order in the Stoic mind is sacred. So choose your form of memory, the one that traps you in emotion or the one that frees you through clarity. Choose the second. Use what happened not to suffer, but to see, not to rage, but to rise. Every scar you carry is a signal, not of defeat, but of data. To forgive without learning is to burn the very manual life handed you. But to remember with poise, to use what was once a weakness as a weapon of discipline, that is the mark of mastery. Do not play the fool dressed in borrowed nobility. Do not pretend that your silence is peace, if beneath it you are still unarmed. True healing is not forgetting, it is converting your pain into protection. Forgiveness may ease your mood for a moment, but memory, honed with restraint, will protect your destiny. And in this world, built not on dreams, but on force and vision, it is clarity that wins battles long after the noise has faded. That is how you lead. That is how you endure. That is how you never fall into the same mouth twice. 3. Memory is power. Carry with you the lies they told, the alliances they shattered, and the applause they offered as you fell, not to dwell in bitterness, but to anchor your clarity. Let each betrayal serve as a compass, not a chain, for in the pursuit of mastery, second chances often reopen the door to the same destruction. The Stoic mind does not pretend to forget. It chooses to remember without emotional entanglement. It sees memory not as a burden, but as a tool. Because in the realm of power, to forget is to invite deception, and to misplace trust is to dig your own grave. Those who once betrayed you will mask their guilt with repentance. They will dress their shame in apologies, hoping to erase their offense by painting your remembrance as cruelty. They will call you cold for not absolving them. They will say you are vengeful for standing your ground. Let them speak. Their unease in your silence is not confusion, it is recognition. That stillness they cannot interpret is not detachment, it is power. The Stoic remains unmoved, not because he has no heart, but because his heart is governed by discipline, not by persuasion. You were not created to die for the recklessness of others. You were not made to dissolve your strength into another's weakness. You were born to rise, to build, to lead, and leadership demands memory, not the kind that burns from within, but the kind that watches without blinking, the kind that does not forget where the wound came from, even after it heals. Because when the moment comes, when your position is high and their defense is low, you must act without hesitation, quietly, precisely, unapologetically. That is how true power moves. It does not announce itself, it delivers, and it disappears. They will accuse you of bearing grudges, but it is not the grudge they fear. It is your clarity. It is your refusal to be confused again. For in your memory lies their reflection, a truth they cannot deny. When you do not forget, they are forced to confront the permanence of their own behavior, and so they attack your resolve, not because it is flawed, but because it reveals them. Let their criticism strengthen you. Their discomfort is evidence that you are no longer manipulable. The weak forgive to claim moral superiority. The wise remember to avoid repeating the lesson. This world does not reward the innocent. It rewards the aware. And awareness grows from the soil of experience. If you forget what life taught you the hard way, you give up the very advantage that pain gave you. A sovereign who erases his past is no longer sovereign. He becomes a figurehead waiting for the next storm to take him. You must let go of the desire to be praised for your kindness. Praise is fleeting, but respect carved in the stone of your discipline lasts forever. So do not respond with confrontation. Do not plead your case. Do not seek resolution from those who proved they were never worthy of your trust. Let them shout into the hollow air of your absence. Let them walk circles in the void you left behind. But within your own mind, build a vault, a place where every betrayal is kept, not to haunt you, but to remind you. That is where your power matures. That is where strategy lives. Your silence must not be a gesture of peace. It must be a signal that you are fortified when they return, as all betrayers eventually do. Let them meet not your forgiveness, but your transformation. You owe no one forgetfulness. You owe yourself sovereignty. And sovereignty is not won by erasing the past, but by mastering it. This is not revenge. This is victory earned through restraint. A victory that needs no audience, only a mind sharpened by memory and a spirit untouched by guilt. That is the legacy of the one who remembers, and that, more than any apology, is what they will never escape. 4. Forget nothing. Forgiveness may offer a fleeting sense of inner virtue, but it is memory that defines your legacy. The world is not molded by gentleness. It is ruled by those who wear civility like armor while moving through it with the discipline of a hunter. You must be composed. You must be refined, but never empty of resolve. Behind every polite gesture, every courteous smile, must dwell the full recollection of what was done to you, not to weigh you down, but to direct your steps, to guide your alliances, to guard your decisions. In a world of masks and maneuvering, forgetting is a luxury that only the unwise dare to entertain. Let no injury strike you twice. Let no familiar hand poison your peace again. The Stoic does not confuse stillness with weakness. He understands that peace which is purchased by forgetting is not peace at all. It is delay. And delay is a gift to those who wish to harm you once more. But power, when rooted in remembrance, is permanent. The world does not pity the soft. It forgets them, but it remembers the one who stood tall with clarity and refused to excuse betrayal with convenient ideals, not with loud defiance, but with mastery, not through vengeance, but through unshakable precision. So be kind, but never naive. Be fair, but never blind. Forgive only when it fortifies your position, when it sharpens your path, when it serves your clarity. Otherwise, let your memory do the work. Forgetting is comfort for those who have not yet paid the price of trust misplaced. But you know better. You have seen what forgetfulness costs. You have felt how silence, when used incorrectly, opens the gates to insult disguised as reconciliation. Let others wave the flag of mercy. Let them walk unarmed into the arms of those who once aimed to break them. But you carry no flag. You carry memory, not to punish recklessly, but to govern wisely. And here is the truth no one speaks of. A man who remembers does not chase conflict. He becomes the consequence others learn to avoid. His silence is not confusion, it is calculation. His absence is not retreat, it is command. He does not retaliate in every moment, because he has already designed the outcome in advance. That is not anger, that is structure, that is rule. In positions of leadership, whether over others or simply over your own internal realm, you must resist the temptation to forgive excessively. You are not here to appease. You are here to set terms, to decide who enters and who stays, because those who test your limits are always watching, not for your words, but for your boundaries. And when you let offenses go without consequence, they do not interpret that as growth. They interpret it as permission. Every unchallenged slight becomes an invitation. Every excuse made on behalf of someone who wronged you becomes a crack in the wall they will exploit again. Betrayal does not always come as a dramatic rupture. It often comes disguised in small dismissals, in subtle criticisms delivered with a smile, in repeated mistakes shrugged off as accidents. And each time you respond with unearned forgiveness, you tell the world something about yourself. You say, I am pliable, I am forgettable, I am here to absorb harm, not to define its boundary. But when you remember, when you quietly observe, when you smile while storing every detail like a ledger within your mind, you become formidable. Your calm is no longer neutral. It becomes potent. It becomes a storm behind glass. This is what real power looks like. Not chaos, not noise, but control, quiet enforcement, consistent clarity. And when others sense it, they stop testing. They begin to tread carefully, not because you threatened them, but because you remembered, because your silence carried consequence. This is how you rise, not through noise, but through presence, not through peace bought at any cost, but through memory that cannot be erased. A mind that forgets nothing is a fortress, and a fortress that stands quietly is the most dangerous force of all. 5. Guard yourself in love. Even the most intimate bonds are not exempt from the law of clarity. Love is not blindness. Loyalty is not the dismissal of patterns that wound you again and again. If someone says they love you while harming you in cycles, not isolated moments, you owe them no dialogue, no plea, no repetition of truths they already know. You owe them distance, not in anger, but in discipline, in the realm of self-command. The highest form of response is not retaliation, but absence. And the most cutting silence is the kind that echoes from a door that will never open again. When a deceiver no longer has access to your attention, they break in ways no confrontation could achieve. You do not need fire to burn them. Sometimes your elevation is the flame. But to rise in that fire, you must first remember who they were, what they did, and how they moved when they thought you were still theirs to control. To forget is to volunteer for repetition. But when you carry memory like steel, you evolve, not into vengeance, but into sovereignty. The kind that rewrites the story not through noise, but through your transformation. When those who betrayed you realize you harbor no hatred, but flawless recall. That is when they begin to feel fear, because hatred, fades. Precision grows sharper. True revenge is not spectacle. It is architecture. It is when those who crossed you look at the doors they once walked through and find them sealed. When they see your name rise in rooms where their names are irrelevant. When every victory of yours reminds them of the trust they squandered. That is not vengeance. That is clarity sharpened into consequence. You are not here to bleed for the mistakes of others. You are here to build a life so formidable that your absence becomes the final judgment. So do not forget who smiled while they destroyed. Do not forget who turned your kindness into opportunity. And most of all, do not forget who taught you never to bend again. Ascend, not with malice, but with elegance. Let your growth be the quiet roar they cannot silence. You owe no one your forgiveness. But you owe yourself a mind that remembers, a mind that does not dwell in pain, but dissects it. That turns every injury into information, because most people do not forgive from strength. They forgive because they lack the stamina to hold the line. They crumble under discomfort and call it grace. But the Stoic knows discomfort is not a signal to release control. It is a training ground. You do not suppress pain, you convert it. You ask, why did this happen? What opening did I leave? What did they exploit that I failed to guard? And then you seal that breach. Not with anger, but with order. You do not hold grudges. You keep records. You do not relive suffering. You analyze patterns. You turn betrayal from drama into data. And you revisit that archive not to reignite emotion, but to refine your discipline. That is how you transform harm into preparation. Each scar becomes a symbol of vision. Each silence you once endured becomes part of your internal code. The disciplined mind remembers, not to ache, but to adapt, to ensure no harm enters twice through the same path. And when they come back, not always with apologies, but with smiles and familiarity, you do not need to respond. Let them wonder. Let them feel the stillness you built in the ruins of what they once abused. Let your absence say everything, because power does not always speak. It enforces. You are not emotionally distant. You are strategically detached. That is the Stoic way. That is the mark of one who commands not just their words, but their thresholds. Let them ask why you seem so composed. Why you do not explain, why you disappear without announcement, and when they speculate, offer no answer, because you remember, because your silence holds the history, and because forgiveness is not a virtue when it leads you into ruin. It is memory, refined and weaponized. That makes you untouchable. You are not fragile. Your mind is a fortress, and you built it with every truth you refuse to forget. 6. Legacy is memory. Legacy is not written by mercy. It is not sculpted by second chances or softened by apologies. Legacy is carved in memory, precise and unyielding. The world does not revere kindness unless it is backed by power. It does not bow to the generous, but to the unforgettable. And those who are unforgettable are not the ones who forgave. They are the ones who remembered everything, moved with silence, calculated with clarity, and rose with unshakable strength. People will always test limits. They will insult, deceive, and exploit, and then speak of forgiveness as if it is owed. They do this because forgiveness makes you ordinary. It erases your sharpness. It turns you into a figure of tolerance rather than one of consequence. But the moment you choose to remember, not to cling to the wound, but to guard your future, you are no longer tame. You become sovereign. You become untouchable. This is the harsh truth many are too fragile to face. The world does not reward the merciful. It fears the unrelenting. It honors not those who cry out for justice, but those who rise so far above their enemies that they become shadows in comparison. This is not about vengeance. This is about elevation. Machiavelli understood this with every word he penned. His philosophy was not cruelty, it was clarity. He warned us, never forget, never forgive what should not be forgiven, and never let weakness disguise itself as moral virtue, because the moment you begin to excuse what should have been a warning, you invite your own collapse. Compassion without discernment becomes your downfall, and in that fall, you give your enemies something they could never steal by force, your surrender. Power moves in silence. It does not roar. It sharpens itself through memory, then acts with design. Revenge does not always show up in battle. Sometimes it is felt in the silence when they hear your name spoken in places they can no longer reach. Sometimes it arrives when your presence fills spaces they are now shut out from. That is the kind of consequence that lingers. It is not loud, it is permanent, and it leaves a scar that no apology can soothe. The truth is simple. People notice your absence more than your affection. They respect quiet distance more than spoken pain. They fear a silent wall more than 1,000 pleas. So give them silence. Give them questions without answers. Let your vanishing carry more weight than any forgiveness ever could. When you reach that state, where your memory is a blade and your silence is your strongest armor, closure becomes irrelevant. You are the closure. And those who once underestimated you will feel that presence whether they admit it or not. Every space you no longer enter will haunt them. Every win you claim will ring in the hollowness of their regret. That is how you dominate, with stillness, with strength, with the calm refusal to be broken twice. Never trade your clarity for the praise of weak hearts. Those who ask for mercy are often the same who will violate you again once you lower your guard. So burn this into your discipline. Never give your strength to those who misread your silence as surrender. You were not born to be soft. You were shaped by fire, precision, and the unforgiving edge of awareness. And when your name is remembered in time, let it be with the kind of weight only respect born of fear can carry, not because you punished them, but because you never had to, because you remembered, and that made you impossible to touch. If something within you awakened while hearing this, it means you already understand what must be done. You were never meant to forgive every offense. You were meant to rise so high they hope you forget, but you won't. Because you remember, and that makes you powerful. If this spoke to your core, subscribe for more clarity ahead. Comment below with "No more mercy," your silence, your strength, your rise. This is only the beginning.